With roughly an hour until the NFL kicks off their first full weekend of games and the Jets kick off a little over 30 hours away. Some interesting comments to go over from Rex Ryan. Talk a little bit about how the Jets could lose this game to the Bills. And Bills fans are not very happy right now. I'm Glenn Naughton with JetNation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web, and things are going to be as active as ever. Come kickoff, get registered now. I would recommend it. The live game threads are going to be hopping, and plenty to go over for Jets fans. So 1 o'clock games kick off in a little while. Rex Ryan, I've seen this. Ian Rappaport shot it out. I believe it was from a Rich Cimini article. Rex said something that I recall saying this around the time of the Rodgers deal, once the Aaron Rodgers deal was completed. And some people said I was crazy, and it was well, maybe not crazy, just saying, oh, it's too early. We don't know. But tell me where you stand on this. This Jets team. Um, no, they haven't played a snap. Yes, it's all on paper and it's all hypothetical, and we have to see this, that, and the other. But I would argue, and this is what Rex Ryan said, and I tend to agree that this is probably the most talented football team the Jets have ever had, from top to bottom. I mean, once you bring in Aaron Rodgers, right? And we all love Joe Namath, and Namath meant a ton to this franchise. First quarterback throw for over 4,000. The book's right there. Right there. Check out the book. Namath's book came out a couple years ago. Loved it. He writes that, from the perspective of as he's rewatching Super Bowl III. Great book. Love Namath. But, different era, different things are asked of quarterbacks. I don't think anyone could really argue that Aaron Rodgers isn't a better quarterback than Joe Namath was. Just with what's asked of quarterbacks today, with the accuracy Rodgers has, and that's not to say Namath wasn't great, but Aaron Rodgers is going to go down as possibly a top 3, top 5 quarterback of all time. Wherever you want to put Namath in there is fine, but I don't see him as being on Rodgers' level. And few guys are. He's top 3, top 5. Not many guys you can put up there. So you've got one of the most talented quarterbacks in the history of the game. You look at Breece Hall, like, oh, he's a rookie. I get it. I'm not talking about track record here. I'm not talking about longevity. I'm not talking about guys that have proven they can do it for a number of years. Just from a pure talent perspective, when you look at the combination of size, speed, power, vision, ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, make guys miss, run guys over, Breece Hall can do all of that. And he can do it at a very high level. Matter of fact, there was a statistic I heard the other day. Our good friend Scott Mason had Jets team writer Randy Lang on his show, and they were talking about the current Jets roster. Breece Hall, according to Randy Lang, who does a great job of pulling up these nuggets, is one of only 2 running backs since 1970 to average over 5.5 yards a carry with at least 80 carries as a rookie. Who knows what that would have been if Hall had stayed healthy all year. But that's it. Two guys since 1970. That's a lot. That's 50 plus years, and he's one of 2. The other, Bo Jackson, who, if you had the opportunity to watch him play football, pretty good player. Pretty good player. So Breece Hall has the ability, the physical tools, and has shown on the field. Granted, it's limited sample size, but he's shown he can be an elite back. I mean, the Jets, they've had some good ones. For those who go back, to the 80s, like myself, Freeman McNeil was a great back, deserves a ton of credit. Curtis Martin, of course. But when all said and done, again, we won't know until Breece Hall's career wraps up where he stands. And he may not approach those guys' numbers because, listen, guys just don't carry the ball 30 times a game like they used to. So, total yards, all those numbers for running backs in the future, we're going to see decline. Very few guys will do the things that guys like Curtis Martin did. But Breece Hall, absolutely elite talent. And same for Garrett Wilson. How many wide receivers have you seen as a Jets fan that has the talent level that Garrett Wilson has? I can't think of a lot. Again, Altoon, Wesley Walker, those guys were great. Wesley Walker, amazing deep threat, averaged 1,000,000 yards a catch one year. But Garrett Wilson, in terms of suddenness, hands, body control, his ability to bend, all that stuff, you see him leaping over receivers, bending. His upper half is out of bounds, but his feet are inbounds, and he pulls it down. Like, These again, it's a different era. Guys are more athletic. They do things that guys years ago never did. One-handed catches are almost the norm now, which is just insane. Um, but Garrett Wilson, even if you want to say there's a couple guys who are as good or in that ballpark that as of today, fine, but you're not going to find many guys better. And I think when all is said and done, he will be the best. I think this year, and I've said this a few times, I think this year Garrett Wilson rewrites the Jets record book for wide receivers. I think he's going to be the first Jet to have 100 catches. I think he's going to go 1,500 plus yards. He's going to be a monster. Now, if you want to talk about depth all around, is this the deepest wide receiver group they've had? Probably not. Um, you know, I like Lazard, nice player. Mecole Hardman, nice player. Who the Jets are likely going to ask him to do a lot more than they have in years than he has with other teams. Talked about that the other day. I think he could be sort of a surprise big play guy on Monday night. Not a guy who's going to get you 8 or 9 or 10 catches, but he might get you three, but one of them might be a 60, 70-yard touchdown. With that speed, with Aaron Rodgers' accuracy, and as much as Aaron Rodgers likes to throw the deep ball. But I digress. Top to bottom, maybe you could say there were better groups. But again, combined with Rodgers, combined with Hall, and then you look at the offensive line. Yes, the Jets have had some very good offensive linemen over the years. You think of DeBrick, you think of Mangold. I mean, and these are just recent guys, right? You go back, even years beyond that. Even the Rex years, those O lines were phenomenal. Brandon Moore, so underrated. Alan Faneca, who came in, Damian Woody, wish he was a Jet for longer. So the Jets have had some really good. They've had some bad offensive lines for those of us who remember the Ken O'Brien days. And it was just everybody was a revolving door at times. It seemed O'Brien didn't help himself as long as he held on to the ball. But this group, Mekhi Becton, we've said it before, right? We can talk about the injuries. I know a lot of people dislike him. That's fine. Ignore them. Don't care. Just from a pure talent perspective, raw ability, there's not a lot of guys that have ever suited up that are on par with Mekhi Becton. As I've said before, if putting together a highlight reel for an offensive lineman isn't the easiest thing to do if you're trying to get the attention of your sort of average casual fan. But I don't know any football fan that won't stop and watch Mekhi Becton toss dudes through the air, opening up a hole, a running lane, whatever. AVT, obviously, guys destined to be an all-pro. Um, what we're going to get out of Tippmann in the future, who knows? It's really too early to include him in this conversation because we haven't seen anything from him. But then you look at the D line, flipping over to the other side of the ball. When, as a Jets fan, because I know this has never been the case since I've been a fan since '87, it's been a while. They've never had this many guys on the D line who can play. And yes, I'm say what you will. I'm assuming Will McDonald is going to be a stud, even if he's not. Even if Will McDonald isn't a stud, you look at the combination, the different combinations they can use on this D line. Quinnen Williams, JFM, Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson, who looks primed to have a monster season. Will McDonald, who I just mentioned, Michael Clemens, Bryce Huff. There's just up and down that line. There's guys who can play. The tackles, the tackles can play. You have Al Woods, you have Jefferson, Quentin Jefferson. So everybody up and down this line, the depth, and this isn't just a Jets fan rose-colored glasses thing. You've heard a lot of people say it. A lot of outside observers, pundits have said this is the deepest D line in the NFL. They have 10 guys who can play. 8 of them can probably do a good job of getting to the quarterback. There's not a lot of forget about Jets teams. There's not a lot of any teams who can do that or who were ever able to do that. So you combine all these. You combine a couple of high level, all pro caliber young linemen. Again, the health, I get it. The quarterback, the running back, dynamic playmakers, like big time dynamic playmakers. Dalvin Cook, who I didn't even mention. Who, yes, I didn't love the move because I liked the guys they had, but I said at the time, I said I thought that bringing him in might be a little bit of waste of money because you don't need him, but he may well give you the best running back duo in the NFL. This is a guy, 1,000 yards is the norm for him. So even if he has lost half a step and they did pay a little more money than I would have liked, I'm not saying the guy can't play. He can absolutely play. So that tandem, you might have the best tandem of running backs in the backfield. You might have the best D line in the NFL. You've got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. When was the and then let's talk corners, which those two guys might be the strongest unit on the team. Now D line we can say because there's depth because there's so many, but I'm just talking about the guys who start playing at a high level. Sauce and DJ Reed and Michael Carter. Let's not forget him. That dude is arguably the best nickel in the league. And I'm not sitting here saying, even though I think I picked the Jets to go to the Super Bowl, feels weird saying they'll win it, but I'm picking them to go, and they're going to win it. But this secondary, now I'm not saying this is a perfect team. We've discussed the weak. There's questions at safety and there's questions at linebacker. How well can they cover? Teams going to attack the middle of the field. More on that in a little bit. But right now, the New York Jets have arguably, let's say worst case scenario at quarterback, top 10. Rodgers reverts to the guy he was a couple years ago, and now you've got a guy who's top 3. But let's say worst case scenario, they've got a top 10, top 8 quarterback. And then you've got a running back, again, who averaged just under 6 yards a carry last year, who may be coming off an injury, but as we said the other day, 2 months ago, he was hitting 22 miles an hour on the GPS. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's ready to roll. And his backup, his handcuff, whatever you want to call him, is a 1,000-yard guy whenever he plays. And then, again, Garrett Wilson, the corners. Up and down this roster, the Jets have position groups, whether it's a player, whether it's a group, that are viewed by not just Jet fans, but by a lot of folks as like the number 1 group in the NFL, maybe the number 5 group in the NFL. They're top 5 up and down the board. When have the Jets ever had that? When have the Jets ever been that good? Not in my lifetime. And as we say, look, the quarterback is the guy that makes it all go. And at that spot, they have a guy who is back with an offensive coordinator who he loves working with, has an explosive running back. Has an explosive running ball, 2 explosive running backs, one more explosive than the other. Let's not forget Izzy Abanikanda. I want that dude on the field this year. Probably going to be tough. They got Michael Carter. He's going to get his run. We'll see what happens there. But they just have explosive options all over the field, whether it's the top guys in Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall, then the backups with Cook, with Hardman, the tight ends. Listen, Conklin was a bit of he's a question mark, right? He drops and fumbles. He had a lot of that last year. The year before with Minnesota, he was very good. So which one is the real guy? We'll find out this year. Tight end, it's going to get even more interesting when Jeremy Rucker takes over as a starter because I think that's going to happen at some point. I don't know if it's going to be week 1 or 3 or 6, whatever, but I think he's a guy, sort of along with Tony Adams. These were guys they saw enough from that they were like, you know what? These guys don't need any reps in the preseason. Bubble wrap them, put them on the sideline with some of the other starters. They saw a couple reps in the final game, whatever. But I think Ruckert is a guy who's going to be a playmaker at tight end. So, look, you can make the argument if you want, agree, disagree, but I look at this team up and down the roster, and I see between the quarterback, the D-line, Super Bowl type team with the help in the secondary. Now, could it all fall apart? Yes, we know this. We're Jets fans. Nothing's in stone. We're all just looking at what the team has put together and trying to figure out what they're capable of. I think they're capable of greatness. We'll find out. They might win one damn game. Who knows? But speaking of winning a game, they've got Buffalo tomorrow night. I picked the Jets to win. I said 31-17, and I could even see it not being that close. I could see it being 31-10 late, and Buffalo scores a garbage time touchdown for a little bit of window dressing. But it could all blow up. Listen, they could come out flat. No reason for it. Super Bowl expectations, opening up at home, 9-11, Aaron Rodgers debut, all this stuff, and they might come out flat. I'm not saying they will, but listen, as a Jets fan, if you're not preparing yourself for every eventuality every week, then I don't know how long you've been a Jets fan. Like, I'm picking them to win in a blowout, but there's also that part of me going, they could screw this up. How do they screw it up? Well, if Buffalo, again, and this is what teams are going to do all year, I mentioned a couple minutes ago, if Buffalo attacks the middle of the field, if Dalton Kincaid, if you listen to myself and Dylan Terman throughout the year, I picked him as a player to watch early on in the college season, loved his game, and I've said I think Buffalo had the best draft class in the division. Osiris Torrance, love him. Dalton Kincaid, those are two of my favorite guys in this class. And I think that Osiris Torrance Quinnen Williams matchup is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of years. Hopefully, a lot of fun Monday night with Williams having the advantage of Torrance being a rookie or Torrance being a rookie. Um, but look, Buffalo. If Buffalo just milks the clock, keep the ball away from the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and that explosive offense, and just chip away at the middle of the field, test the safeties, test the linebackers, see if they can cover. Use Kincaid, use Cook. They have guys who can catch the football out of the backfield, who can line up a tight end or split out wide and catch the ball. Of course, you've got Diggs on the outside. As you know, I went back and forth with someone earlier. There was a PFF tweet. Who's going to win the battle between Sauce and Diggs? Of course, I said Sauce, not just because I'm a Jets fan, but really, he won the battles last year. And people point to, oh, Diggs had a big catch. Okay, he's Stephon Diggs. You're going to play 2 full games. He's going to have a catch at some point. He's going to make a play. And against a rookie, no less. It's not like Sauce was year 2 or 3 or 4 Darrelle Revis. Like year 1 against an all-time great, you're going to give up a catch or two. He did. He gave up a 40-yarder to Diggs, but that was it. That was it. Diggs had 93 yards in that game, and almost half of it came on the first drive. From that point on, 40 yards, 45 yards. The following game, the full game, all 4 quarters, 37 yards, no touchdowns in either game. So here's a guy who had one big catch and then a lot of nothing. He had like a 15 to 17. But again, it's the NFL. He's going to make his catches. Look at the worst teams in the league, right? They always have a receiver who puts up some numbers. You're going to make some plays if you're the top option on any team. So nobody's sitting here saying Diggs isn't going to catch a ball. But this is kind of, and I said this last year. I said, because that game was early in the year, and Diggs caught that ball on Sauce, and Bill's Twitter went crazy. Like it was, one of the biggest plays of the year. And I thought, that's how good this kid is. He as a rookie, in what was it, his 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever game it was, like one of the first games he'd ever played at the pro level, gives up a catch to a future Hall of Famer, and people were like, oh, look at this. This is so great. He beat Sauce for a play. Didn't do much after that. So Sauce is going to line up on both guys, but the Jets don't try. This is something, a little exchange I had earlier with some Bills fans. And I understand if you're a Bills fan, you're not really following the Jets that closely. You look at the numbers and think, oh, look, Sauce hardly covered Diggs because the Jets didn't want him to. No. The Jets' corners very rarely travel. The Jets' corners play the scheme. They line up where they line up. As I forget if it was DJ Reed or Sauce, somebody during the little spat with that former Patriots corner, I forget his name, said, like, wait, we have 2 CB1s. We don't travel. When you have 2 CB1s, you just line up. So if you're looking at the box score, you're looking at PFF or the matchups or Football Outsiders, whoever provides that data, and you're going, oh, look, Sauce only covered Diggs twice. The Jets were avoiding him all day. The Jets were trying to hide Sauce from Diggs. No, the Jets line up, and they cover who's in front of them. So if Diggs is only lining up against Sauce twice, that's because that's where Buffalo lined him up twice, however many times. But again, Diggs will make plays on Monday. He's Stephon Diggs. He's going to make plays. But the Jets just have to do what they did last year, limit it. Let him get some yards, 1 or 2 chunk plays, keep him out of the end zone. The Jets have done a really nice job against Josh Allen the last couple years, keeping him under a couple hundred yards a game. Sacked him 5 times at home last year. So the Jets have done an excellent job. You compare Josh Allen's numbers to every other team that he played against, and then compare it to the Jets. The Jets have done a really nice job. I actually had the numbers pulled up earlier. I don't have them right here, but and we mentioned it on the last show. Dylan Terman brought it up. So that's something the Jets have managed to do the last couple years. But again, if Buffalo uses Monday night to try to attack the middle of the field, the short middle, test the safety, see what Tony Adams can do, and you have to imagine they're going to do that with those tight ends, with Knox and Kincaid. I don't think I mentioned Knox yet. I said the tight ends. Of course, Knox, very good player. Kincaid, potentially very good player. And some running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. So there are some ways that Buffalo can chip away. Maybe you use the short passing game as somewhat of a running game because the Jets do a nice job against the run. We'll see how Buffalo does there. Again, a lot of it's going to come down to Osiris Torrance and how I think the Jets are going to sort of attack him as a rookie. Like Nick Mangold said years ago, right? When he was retiring, when he did his ceremony and at one Jets drive, and somebody asked him, who was your favorite player to face when you lined up? And Mangold just said, any rookie. Like, as an NFL, as a veteran, as a guy who's been there and done it, when you're facing a rookie, you're going to be able to do things he's never seen. And that's what I'm hoping that we see with Quinnen Williams tomorrow. But it's not a guarantee. Look, Creed Humphrey a couple years ago was a center, right? Was dominant. Didn't give up a thing. I could see Torrance being that kind of guy. He's that good of a player. But at the end of the day, the Jets, in my mind, should win this game. And listen, I might be wrong. Everybody's wrong about this stuff. We just watch, we project, we think, who can do what, where are the strengths and the weaknesses, who matches up well. I think the Jets are better than the Bills in a lot of different areas. We discussed that the other night, myself and Dylan Terman and Chris Schubert. If you look back to that episode. And Bills fans, I don't want to say calm down, because I hate when fans tell other fans what to do. Like, don't calm down. Be as angry and as obnoxious as you are, or as you have been. But yeah, a lot of people on the timeline telling me that Aaron Rodgers can't play against the Bills. He's played the Bills once in the last 3 years, and when he played them 4 years ago, he threw 2 touchdowns and won 22-0, I think. So Rodgers has had plenty of success against the Bills, but I got Bills fans coming at me and reaching back to 2010, like literally. Look at this game in 2010 when he played poorly against Buffalo. What the hell does that have to do with Monday night, other than absolutely nothing? So, yeah, Bills fans are fired up. And look, this is, if things play out the way Jets fans expect or hope or whatever you want to say, that's rough for Bills fans. Like, this was supposed to be their stretch and their time where they were going to have a 7 or 8 or 9 year run of winning the division every year with a shot at the Super Bowl. And then the Jets go out and get Aaron Rodgers. And the Jets draft the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. And the Jets add Breece Hall. Like, the Jets got a lot better, a lot quicker. And you can talk to me about the record last year, but anyone who watched that team knows that poor record, that missing the playoffs, that was all down to quarterback play. Now that's fixed. And Buffalo's not going to have the cakewalk to the division that they kind of expected for the next however many years. And that's the way it goes. But today's NFL, if a GM does a nice job, has 1 or 2 good drafts, add a couple of key free agents, all of a sudden you're a competitor again. And the Jets, I believe, are a competitor. I believe they're a 12-win team. I believe if everyone stays healthy, and by that I mean nobody misses, no key guys miss huge chunks of time, I think the Jets win the Super Bowl. I think they're that good. And if I'm wrong, who cares? Sometimes we're right. Sometimes we're wrong. I think the combination of pass rush, quarterback play, playmakers on offense, secondary able to shut guys down, I think that's a formula for a Super Bowl victory. I think the time now is for the Jets to do it. And it's nice that Aaron Rodgers is as happy as he is in New York, because if this isn't the time, I get the feeling he's going to be around for 2-3 years, at least 2, maybe 3+ years to keep trying. And the Jets will, as long as you got Aaron and some of these young guys, you're going to have a shot. So that's going to wrap this up. Wanted to do something on game day, NFL game day. We are 1 hour and 10 minutes from kickoff as of now. This will get uploaded. We'll probably be a little under an hour from kickoff by the time it gets up there. But Rex Ryan is right. This is the most talented team the Jets have ever had. Bills fans need to calm down. Challenging time. Expected cakewalks. Not getting it. Still might win the division. You might win the Super Bowl. I don't know. But just because it's not going to be easy, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at Jets fans for being happy. And that's not just Bills fans. That's like fans all over the place. They're like angry at Jets fans for being happy. Oh, look at Jets fans celebrating stuff. If you can't celebrate getting a Hall of Fame quarterback after decades of putrid quarterback play, what the hell can you celebrate? Like, give me a break here. Jets Bills tomorrow night. Picking the Jets 31-17. We'll see how it goes. Have the recap after the game. And then myself, Chris Schubert, Dylan Terman, talking about the game in the days that follow. Have a good one, Jets fans.